So if you say, I'm going to do my emails in 15 minutes, you can answer all your emails in 15 minutes. If you say, okay, I'm going to take the next hour and just like answer my emails and then like, do the next thing, you will take an entire hour and maybe not even finish all of your emails.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Entrepreneurship Decoded. I'm so excited for you guys to meet my awesome new friend, Elizabeth. She is an engaging speaker, a successful entrepreneur, master networker, and trusted business advisor with over 20 years of experience. So she's got a lot of advice, a lot of great insight to give us today. So I'm so excited for you guys to meet her and get to know her story. So Elizabeth, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So let's just go right into it. I would love to hear your backstory. Who were you before you became this engaging speaker, successful entrepreneur, and just motivational being in general? So who were you before that, and then kind of how did you transition to the person you are today?
So I was actually homeschooled from the time I was in first grade till college. So I was a little bit quieter, shyer. And I went to college for web programming, which I loved. I'd been doing that for about 4 or 5 years before I went to college for it. And when I came out of college, I got a regular job and just did, the things you normally do. And I also got married. And also at that time, I went through a divorce just a few months after we got married, unfortunately. And I was very lost and very upset, and I didn't really know what to do. And my family was moving to a completely different state. So I was like, well, yes, I got to go too. I didn't really have anything else to do in the state that I was in. So we moved across the country and we settled in Florida. And I just was like bouncing around between jobs. I wasn't really doing anything. And my mom was like, you got to pick something. You got to do something. And she said, just make a job because you can't find one that you really like, that you're going to really enjoy. So I made a job. I picked 2 things that I liked, which was old people and computers. And I made the job. So I actually started calling senior centers and asking if they had a computer teacher. And if they did, then I went and taught computer for them. And if they didn't, then I helped them create a program for that. And in 2007, I started that, and I had that business for 10 years. And then kind of overlapping, I went back to marketing and web design and all that stuff, and started teaching at business groups and teaching at the SBDC and SCORE, all these different government, business organizations. And so I just kind of branched back into marketing from there. And I've had that business for about 8 years, but, in total I've been.
Wow, that's amazing. So like you said, you have 20 years of experience in just all of this. That's amazing. So you kind of said it a little bit, but do you think it was your mom that really pushed you to just do your own thing, or were there other kind of external, internal conflicts that you had with yourself that just led you to just change and become an entrepreneur?
Well, my mom was actually an entrepreneur when I was a kid, so I saw that growing up. She worked like small things that she would make up, like she did a scrapbooking business, she did basket weaving, she taught classes. And my dad also worked, so he was really the one making, the money for the family, but she was like doing these extra things on the side, which was really neat. And I got to see that growing up, and I did a lot of, the trade shows that she did with her, and I did, I helped sell things with her and all kinds of stuff. So I kind of grew up a little bit with that, but never in a sense of it being the only job somebody has. So it was always a side thing, an extra money instead of it being the main thing. And I just had to make it my main thing because there wasn't really anything else for me to do. And I was overqualified here and underqualified there. So it was quite a challenge until I just figured I'm just going to do my own thing and make it what I want to make it. And during the recession, my second husband and I, we're still married, thank goodness, him and I were actually running my business together because his job was taking a huge toll on him, and he just couldn't, it was just a really bad situation. So he was like, you know what? And he couldn't find another one because that's what he was trying to do. It's like, let me find another job. And he just couldn't do it because of the recession. So I said, just come work with me and we'll branch out and we'll make it bigger and we'll grow it. And that's what we did. And we ended up selling the computer repair business, which is what he ran mostly for me. We ended up selling that a few years ago to one of our employees that we had gained from that. So It worked out really well. Now he's doing his own thing. He's happy doing his own thing now. But in that time, it really was our only source of income, and we both had jobs because of it.
That's awesome. I love how you were able to bring your husband into it and just create an awesome team that way. That's really cool. So through your journey with from 2000, your 10 years from 2007 to 2017 with your business, what were the major challenges that you had to face? Like, did you have to just rewire your brain, because a lot of times, when you live as an employee and then you have to switch to being the employer, there's a lot of things that go in between that. So what were the kind of the major challenges that you had to face with that?
I think a lot of people are actually born leaders. They come out that way. A lot of people can learn it because it's not a hard thing to learn, but you have to push a lot harder in that. And I think that for me, it was more inbred. It was more like I already had that. I was the oldest of 5 children, so I was always leading. I was always teaching. I was always corralling everyone to do things. So I had that really ingrained in me early on, that you make the decisions, things happen. That's how it works. So for me, going from employee to employer, or, the boss, wasn't really that hard, because I always thought, and I always had this idea in my mind, which I didn't really know could be something that I could do anything about, which was that, well, I could do it better. Well, they're doing it inefficiently. I could do this easier, whatever that is. So I was glad to kind of get out on my own and be able to say, I'm making the decision. And if it was a bad decision, which I made some of those too, and I still do, then I was able to take responsibility for that and like fix it and move on. I had one business that I was working for a while and it just wasn't going anywhere, so I changed it, because in a job situation, if something isn't working, you can't change it. You just have to keep doing it because that's what your boss is telling you to do. Even if you try to tell them, hey, we need to change it, we need to improve it, doesn't mean they're going to listen, doesn't mean they have the power to do anything. So it was really great for me to be able to see that when I made a decision, that change could be affected not only in my own business, but then going out from there, and really affect customers differently, and be able to know that you have to innovate and adapt all the time. And that's one of growing up, having so many kids in the family, I was adapting and innovating all the time because things are changing like constantly. And even though I didn't have any power over like the family as a whole, because I was just a kid, but I had power over how I dealt with those things that would just like come at you left and right. Oh, we're going to this thing. No, we're not. So-and-so's sick. We have to stay. Like, all these things are coming at you. So, that kind of thing really helped, I think, as an entrepreneur. And you have to really, really overcome the feeling of, helplessness or being lost, because you have to make the decisions. Everything is on you. But at the same time, not be so overwhelmed that like, oh my gosh, everything's on me. I can't handle it. So there's a fine balance there that I think can be learned. But it just takes time and practice. You have to practice.
That's awesome. So is that something you learned over time? I see that that's your main thing you do now. You help business owners just calm down and get acclimated with overwhelmness and not feeling burnt out when it comes to growing your business. So how did you learn that over time? Was it like from your childhood, or was there specific things that really helped you just figure that out and learn how to teach that as well?
Well, whenever I look at a business and whenever I look at anything really, if there's a system, things go much better. If there's a path to follow, things go much better. And even though you might be kind of blazing a trail and you don't really know what's going on, someone out there has done exactly what you're doing. And a lot of people think, oh, no one is my competitor. Oh, no one has my same business. They do. They're out there. You just don't know about them. And so my whole thing is that you have to find the system that works for you. And it might be a system taken from another group. It might be a system that you design and develop because you need to, or it might be a system that's already out there that you can utilize. So one of the things about reducing that overwhelm and getting that off your plate so you're not constantly thinking, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, like everything's happening at once, is to develop a system of your marketing, because that's your main focus. That's like what drives people every single day, like that they just can't handle and cope with, because they're trying to do client work too, and they're trying to deal with, their families, and there's like all these things piled on. So if you can systematize your marketing, if you can systematize how you even answer emails, those kind of little things that take up so much of our time, then you can actually put all of that in a box, so to speak, and you can work, 9 to 5. And if you want to work more, of course you can, but then you have that time that says, I want to do these things with my family. I want to actually have time to myself. We've gotten to the point here where I actually work like 10 to 4. And that's, that works for us. And I take Fridays off every single Friday. And it was definitely an adjustment, because taking off every single Friday wasn't something you just can do. Like, you can't just start like, well, I'm just going to take a whole day off and not even, work at all. But if you have the discipline in the rest of the week, then you can adjust everything so that you get everything done in the right timely fashion. One of the things that I've actually implemented in my business, which is a system, and that is called Absolute Marketing. And it's something that I developed for myself to run all the businesses that I was running, because I was running about 3 at one time, all at the same time. And I was also running 15 different meetup groups a month, which was networking groups. So they all required marketing. They all required branding. They all required websites. They all required, like, everything needed, all the pieces for like a brand. And so I was constantly managing all of those things. And once I found a system for myself that worked, I started using it with all my clients and with all my other ventures, so that I was never really lost or stuck or overwhelmed in the dark. I just had that, ability to say, today is this, tomorrow is that, and just keep going. And I use it even still today, even though I'm only running, 2 businesses right now, but I use it now and also with my clients, because it just makes a lot of sense. And one of the principles of that is called, it's called Parkinson's Law. And Parkinson's Law says that if you give, a task, this one task, an amount of time, it will take that entire amount of time. So if you say, I'm going to do my emails in 15 minutes, you can answer all your emails in 15 minutes. If you say, okay, I'm going to take the next hour and just like answer my emails and then like, do the next thing, you will take an entire hour and maybe not even finish all of your emails because you'll get distracted and things will happen. So what I try to do is use Parkinson's Law and say, I only have 15 minutes to, do the dishes, empty the dishwasher before I have to go back and have a call or something. Then I do it and it gets done, so that when I go back to my calls, I'm not sitting here going, oh my gosh, I gotta empty the dishwasher, I gotta do the dishes, I gotta do the laundry, and this is like all these other things on your mind that don't even have anything to do with work. So when you can systematize things with your work and your life and make them all work together, then it makes it a lot easier and you don't feel that overwhelm all the time.
That's some great advice. I've never heard of Parkinson's Law. I feel like I've done that. Like, they do that sometimes in schools where you have to, etch out a specific time of day to get things done, and you usually get it done, but I didn't know that had a name. So that's really awesome. I loved hearing about that and learning from that. So through everything and the past couple of months, I've kind of been asking people just how they have been pivoting and working with, just doing Zoom and not being able to meet with clients. And a lot of entrepreneurs have been either struggling with it or they've actually been thriving with it. So I'm curious to know how you've been just working with staying at home and utilizing the time that you have to just grow your business from home.
Well, I'm in Florida, so we've had, I feel like, a little less time at home than the rest of some of the states, because we've had our country or our state open a little bit longer, and we didn't shut down as quickly, so we're a little bit in that middle spot there. But thankfully, things didn't really stop for us. Because of the nature of the business that I run, which is a marketing agency, we didn't really have to shut things down per se. We could work from home, which was great. And we also built an entirely new business during that time, which was also really fun. The one thing that I will say about working from home and everything is, again, everything's on your mind because it's all in front of your face. And we've actually been doing a bunch of home improvement projects as well, because we're like, oh my gosh, we've been sitting here looking at this and we hate it. We need to fix it. So that's been a little distracting. But as far as actually thriving through that, so I used to actually network, go out and do, lunch meetings and stuff. I used to network about 2 to 5 times a week. And that was just what I did. It was how I grew my business. It was how I got my name out there. And then it stopped. It just the spigot was turned off, like no more networking, done. And so I did some online networking things, which were okay. And I met some interesting people, but it wasn't the same for me. So I really put my focus on teaching, which I love doing. And there were so many webinars and stuff that are going on still. And I just really put myself out there and saying, hey, I will do these webinars. I will teach, 12 months of social media in a day. I will teach how to build your brand in a day, all that stuff, so that people could get this, little tidbits that they might need to move themselves forward in whatever they were building. And also, I started pushing myself out there more for podcasting. I restarted my own podcast because it had been dormant for a while. And I also started putting myself out there into guest podcasting like this, because this is kind of what I'm replacing my networking with. I'm doing this about sometimes 2 to 4 times a day, depending on the day, but I'm averaging about 5 to 6 podcasts a week, whether it's including one of my own plus, 4 or 5 more that I'm on as a guest. So there were other things that I found that I could kind of pivot into, but it did take some brainstorming. It did take some, mental work and also some mindset work to realize that I shouldn't be feeling loss against, oh my gosh, I lost all my networking. But I should be feeling like I've gained this new medium that I love, that I really enjoy, using, to actually build my business going forward. So hopefully when networking will come back soon and I can go back out there, which I love also. But for the meantime, this is something that I know I can do and then I know is working as well.
That's awesome. I love how you're able to just pivot and find a new way to network, get out there, get your voice out there. And I think you're completely right when it comes to, getting yourself out there like through podcasts, because that's something that's growing. People love to listen to podcasts and hear stories and just learn from people like you who have so much to give. So, yeah, you're completely right on that way. And yeah, it's exciting to see what is happening with the future. And yeah, so I hope networking does continue, because I loved connecting with people in person as well. So I also get that. But, so talking about your business a little bit, I'd love to hear just exactly what you do and how you help business owners around the world, or around the country at least. But
yeah, we have worked internationally. So yes, around the world. My business is beyondthecause.co, and we work with small businesses and nonprofits to help them create a year's worth of marketing in 5 days. So we are working with them 1 day at a time to complete one project at a time. We complete a brand and an ebook in day 1, a full website from scratch in day 2, 12 months of social media implemented, written, and designed and scheduled, in day 3, 12 months of blog posts written, designed, and scheduled in day 4, and 12 months of email marketing written, designed, and scheduled in day 5. So it's a lot.
Yeah, that's amazing. I bet that changes a lot of business owners' lives, because even me, I'm still trying to figure out how to best use my time to create as much content as I can, but also, still have time to do actual business projects and stuff. Yeah. So that's really awesome. You're able to just do it in 5 days. That's crazy, actually, when you think about it. But it probably, like you said, you probably use Parkinson's law and are able to just break down everything, get everything set, so that's something business owners don't have to really think about. So how were you able to get into this niche because you said you kind of pivoted into marketing, but what were the spaces and gaps in the industry that you felt like it's okay, I can do this. I can hop in and just help these businesses figure this out?
Well, when I had my computer repair company, I used this exact method to create, what we had for the marketing for that business. So I would sit down for a day and build out the website, or redo the website if I needed to, or I would sit down for a day and create 6 to 12 months of social media posts. So I had that already working for myself. I was doing it on my own and just kind of doing it. That's just the way I designed it. And I didn't really think that anybody else wasn't doing it that way. I thought it was just, I just do it that way. It's just the way I do it. So I didn't really think it was an asset in a way. And then I started doing the website design, because I started meeting more business owners, because all my other people in my computer repair was residential. And once I started meeting more business owners, I thought, well, I can go back to web design, which is what I love to do in my background. So I went back to that, and when I started doing that, I started seeing, I need social media. I need this. I need that. So I started offering those things as well, just because it made sense to do so. And I was doing what everybody else was doing in the beginning. In 2013, maybe 12 was when I started doing the website stuff in addition to the computer repair. So it was simultaneous. And I added that in, but I did it the way everybody else did. I did 4 to 6 week websites. I had a contract. Most of my websites were 30 days. You only get 30 days and that's it. And we had week 1 was this, week 2 was that. We had all these like deadlines and things for people to follow. And if week 1 we do the brand, week 2 we do the content. They'd get me their content. I'd send them over a questionnaire. And then week 3, I would build the site. Week 4 we would tweak it, and then it would be done. It'd be like, sounds really simple, right? Like that's super, tons of time. Sounds really easy. But the business owners were too busy. They could not handle me giving them tasks and then getting them back to me. Like it was not working. And I would be waiting and texting and emailing and calling and like, hey, I need this, all through the month. And then on day 29 of 30 of our contract, they would like flood me with everything they could possibly think of. Because they would sit down and they would try and create everything in one day and then shove it all into my email. And then I would feel obligated as the business owner, which would stress me the heck out, that I had to do it, that I had to finish it that same day because their contract was coming up and I said I would do it and they already paid me half, and I felt like really trapped, like in my own system. And I just kept doing that for like 2-3 years. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. And by year like 4, I guess it was about that point, I said, my physical health is taking a toll. Everything is just going to crap because I can't handle this anymore. Because it was so stressful, because I felt like I was so obligated to them. Even though they didn't, just disregarded all of my deadlines and all of my timelines, I felt the one was responsible. So the next month, one of the months I did it, it was like May, and I had just signed 2 new clients, and I did 30-day websites, whatever. And I said, I swear, the next client that comes to me, I changed my website that day. I went on my website, just took everything down, put up all this new stuff about in a day. I said, the next client that comes to me, you have to do an in a day website. I'm not doing anything else. I'm building your website in one day. We're sitting down. It's 8 hours. I'll buy you lunch, but we're doing it in one day. That's it. I'm not giving you any more time. And I cut my price in half. So instead of being able to do 2 websites a month, which was my max for working with clients on that type of old system, I basically cut my time down by 1/30. And I could do something in one day, the same amount that I was doing, because I knew I was already building sites in one day. I was already doing this. So I had my client come through, and she was like, yeah, I need the website. And she goes, oh, I need a brand too. And I was like, there is no way I can do a brand and a website in the same day. I said, oh, you're going to need another day. It says in a brand in a day. That's what it is. And she's like, oh, okay, that sounds good. Oh, I also need social media. And I was like, there's no way I could get all 3 of those in 2 days. Oh, you're going to need another day. We can do 12 months in a day. I knew I'd done that for myself, so I could work with a client, do it. No big deal, right? So she booked 3 days. I made more money in her 3 days than I had in the 2 previous months with 4 clients. And I was just like, this is what I'm doing now. And since then, that was about 3-4 years ago, 3 years ago. I haven't looked back on that. And I just keep adding more day services. I've changed the way we do our pricing structure for nonprofits. And I've just kept on that track because it's so niche and it's so specific for what people really, really need. And it gets them out there. It gets them moving forward. They're not sitting here going, well, now I need a brand. Well, now I need a website. And it's just like all these processes they have to go through just to get just basically a year of marketing. But this process, it's 5 days and you're done. I had a client come to me a couple months ago, and they were losing their franchise. Well, they weren't losing it. They were like leaving the franchise. They didn't want to be the franchise anymore. But they were still allowed to do the business on their own. Like there was no non-compete about that. So they had to change all their branding because they were the franchise before. They had to change all their messaging, their pricing. They had to figure out their own pricing. They had to figure out what their mission was going to be, all that stuff. And we had to build a completely new website with all the functionality that they had before. We had to redo everything, all their social media, all their email marketing, everything. And we took 5 days in April during the middle of COVID, everything. And they came to my office. We sat 6 feet apart and we did it. And they were so thrilled. And now, as we're starting to come back, they're able to utilize that we had all the stuff we had created. They just held on to it until they were ready to push everything out. And now it's just all running, and I see it pop up on social media and stuff. So it's really cool.
That's awesome. I can't imagine just doing all of that in 5 days, but like you said, you found something, you're like, oh, I can just do this in one day, and then it just builds off of that. So that's amazing that you were able to just do that. Take your strength, skills that you've learned, and put that all into your business, and it's just flourished from there. Apparently, that's amazing. You could do that. So with everything that you learned and all the challenges, the transformations, the just everything that you learned throughout your whole journey. That's been over 20 years of experience. What's the main advice you would give to people just starting out? So you work with business owners every day. What are the main challenges that they face that you feel like other people should know and that they could use to be okay, if they can do this and they can get through this challenge, then I can do it too?
I think the main thing is fear. We're afraid to fail. We're afraid to do something and then lose. We don't like to put ourselves out there to fail. And as an entrepreneur, if you want to be that, and some people say I'm a small business owner or I, own a business. But if you're a true entrepreneur and you want to do multiple things, you're not just saying I'm a one-trick pony, this is all I do, then you are an entrepreneur. You want to have multiple streams of income. You want to be financially independent. You want to have people working for you and doing different things. That is an entrepreneur. And so I think as an entrepreneur, if that's your goal, then you have to do things. You can't sit and think about them. You can't sit and wonder if it'll happen or wonder if it'll work or ask a coach or talk to 50 million people before you say, and here it is, and I'm presenting it to you. So for example, this week, we're launching a new product that I thought of last week, and it's a 90-minute website for those people who don't have the money, don't have the time, they're just I don't want to put in 5 days yet. I'm not there. But I have to do something in order to get myself out there, and I need a website and a brand. And we're actually offering that in 90 minutes, we'll create a one-page site and your brand for you. Now, this is starter. It's not crazy, full-on collateral everything like we normally do. But it's the thing that says, I'm putting in a little bit of commitment. I'm putting in a little bit of time, and now I'm going to go do something. And then when I make something of it or I see what works and what doesn't, now I need a real brand or a finalized, polished brand. I need a real website that allows me to do X, Y, and Z. I need, social media that's going to get me through the next 6 to 12 months. So once you get to the point where you go, my idea is proven, then all that stuff just comes forward and you're yeah, I'm ready to invest. I'm ready to do all these things. But before that, just getting over the fear of saying, well, I can't do it because I don't have a website and it's so expensive, and just having all these excuses. This is let's eliminate those excuses. And so if you can step over that and say, I'm not afraid to do this. I'm going to put down a couple $100 and I'm going to get a website so that I don't have that excuse. I'm going to get a brand so I don't have that excuse. And I'm going to start talking on podcasts. I'm going to start putting myself out there to do the coaching or the consulting of what I do, what I know. Then you can do it. It's not hard. You can just put yourself out there. But it does take a little bit of technical bits that you have to have, website, brand, stuff like that. And we're trying to eliminate some of those barriers for people. So mainly I see fear, and mainly I see not wanting to go full bore on the investment, which I totally get. So I'm trying to innovate myself and find ways to help people take that first step, that baby step that leads them to something else and something greater. And if this idea doesn't work, it's only a couple $100. They made the investment. They did the thing. They got over the fear. And now that next idea that comes along, it's whoa, but I did that thing last time. And even though it didn't work, I know that it pushed me to this thing. And now maybe this thing will work. And so it kind of gives you that momentum that you can keep stepping forward, stepping forward, stepping forward. So
that's amazing advice. I think you're right. A lot of people just don't even try entrepreneurship because they're afraid of what could happen. They don't want to take on the judgments of other people, and they have that ideology that they just can't do it. So I think you're completely right, and I think what you're doing is absolutely amazing, just helping people get out there, take that action, and just start, right? So that's exactly what other people need. So I'm so glad I got to meet you today and just tell your story and show people that, there's people like you out there who are doing amazing things. So I really thank you for coming on. And anyone watching or listening, if you want to know Elizabeth, you want her services, that 5-day plan that you could just boom, 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 get everything done with your marketing plan, brand, everything. All of her information is down below. And then as you guys know, my ebook is now live. And then my product launch starts in a couple of days. So remember that. All the information is down below. And Elizabeth, thank you again. I really appreciate you giving me your time.